Hi, my name is Stefan McKenzie, and I'm at Jacksonville University's River House with.
My name is Alexandria Wilson.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Um, where were you born?
I was born in Houston, Texas.
Who are or were your parents, and what were their jobs or occupations?
My parents. So my father was actually a Navy brat. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
He moved around a lot because my grandfather was did 20 years in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So then he eventually moved to Houston where he met my mother, and my whole mother's side of my family is in Houston, and they're both computer programmers, funnily
Oh,
enough.
cool.
Yeah, and that's how they met.
I actually have my godmother lives in Tennessee, so that's nice to hear.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah. Do you have like any siblings?
I do have a older brother. He's 11 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big generational gap, but we're
Are you
close.
guys like tight?
Yeah, we're still close. He's like definitely my protector.
Mm-hmm. uh, but did he serve in the military?
He did not. He actually
Okay.
runs his own business
Cool.
with his best friend. Sorry
Oh,
about
that's
that.
cool. Well, what were your sibling or
Mhm.
parents like feeling about you joining the military?
They were all very apprehensive about me joining the military because or I still am, a very girly girl
Uh-huh.
down to my core,
Yeah.
and they couldn't put two and two together
Mhm.
of this girly girl going into the Marine Corps. Like, they were completely shocked. My dad was really happy about it though. My mom was dead scared. She was like, you can't go over there to Afghanistan. You can't, she was freaking out. And then of course my brother being like my protector, he was really scared too. But yeah, I think eventually they all came to terms with it.
That's cool. That's cool. What primary or secondary schools or college did you attend?
Before joining the
Yeah.
military. I did go to a community college. I Once I graduated high school, I was totally lost. I
Mhm.
did not know what I wanted to go to school for at all. So I just went to a local community college. By this point, I was actually living in upstate New York,
Mhm.
and I was just starting my core classes, and I was like, you know what? I don't know about this school thing. So then I ended up going to a recruiter.
What about after your service?
After my service, I actually worked for a few years,
Mhm.
and yep, about 2 years, and then I decided to come back to school here, and then I came here to JU.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about when you went into the military? Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I decided to enlist, so I actually went in really quickly. I passed a recruiter's office one day in November of 2009,
Mm-hmm.
and I was with a friend, and I was like, you know what, I think I can maybe do that. And went in like a few days later, so walked in November. I shipped out for boot camp December 1st of 2009, like 2 weeks later. So it was like a really quick thing. They were like ready to get me in.
Were you prepared at all?
Yes and no. I think part of me, it was kind of like being a naive
Mm-hmm.
teenager who is like preparing to go out into the world. Like, we think we know everything at that
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
but you really don't. So you're just kind of like, yep, I'm going to do this. This sounds like a great idea right now. And, but a part of me was terrified because I was also gonna go during the holidays, and that was gonna be my first holidays away from my family. So it was definitely tough. But I think because I was just like kind of young and gung ho, I kind of tuned it out, and I was just like, let's do this.
How old were you when you first got the recruit?
I was 18 years old. I had just turned 18 that year, so I was just graduated high school, very young, didn't know anything, and I decided to join.
It's a good birthday present.
Yeah, right.
So you said you enlisted. I
Yes.
think I missed it, but when did you join? Like what date?
I enlisted December 1st of 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What or who did you leave behind? Family, pets, children?
I left behind my parents. They
Mhm.
For the most part, it was just my parents. They were not ready for me to
Yeah,
leave the nest,
yeah.
especially my dad. I'm a
Yeah.
daddy's girl,
Yeah.
so he was very shocked that I left. Yeah.
Yeah. Which branch did you enter?
I joined the United States Marine Corps.
Oh, cool, cool. When did you? Why did you choose that branch?
I funnily enough, I chose the Marine Corps because I told myself if I was going to join the military, it was go big or go home.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do what I thought was the toughest branch out there, and I was going to kind of prove it to myself that I wasn't just this girly girl, but I could be a tough girly girl.
Mhm. Yeah.
So a little bit was stubbornness, and I didn't look at any other branches. I was just like, I'm going to go for the Marine Corps, and that was that.
I like that. How did you get your initial point of entry?
My initial point of entry,
Yeah.
can you elaborate on that question?
Like, how did you get like into like what steps did you have to take to get in right straight in?
Okay, to get in. So, first you have to take your ASVAB, which is kind of this test that basically tests all of your skills, like how you analyze things, how you problem solve, math, etc. And you get a general score. And based off of that score, you're basically offered a certain amount of jobs and saying like you qualified for these jobs. And so I actually saw that meteorology was a job that was available to me. And so I picked that out. They had told me about it, and at first they said it wasn't available. They were trying to get me to be military police. But I was like, I'm not gonna. I was a science nerd. I still am a science nerd, and I was like, I really want that job. I don't want to sign anything until I get that job. And funnily enough, the next day they called me up and said, hey, we got that job available for you. And I said, okay, let's do this. And so how to do that? Then you have to take I forget the specific acronym. It's the initial fitness test. And you have to run, I believe it's 1.5 miles under 13 minutes. You have to do, for females, it was a flexed arm hang. So instead of a pull-up, it's you kind of just like hang on the pull-up bar like this. And you don't want to like drop down and straighten your arms all the way out. So we had to hold that for a certain amount of time. And then it was sit-ups. Like we had to do a certain amount of sit-ups in certain amount of time, and as long as you pass all of that, then you were qualified to go to boot camp.
Was it like challenging at all?
It was a
keep that position.
It was because I still can't even do a full pull up now. They actually make female Marines do pull ups for their physical fitness test now. They have to be just as strong as the males, which good on them. But when it was when I was in, it was just a flex arm hang, and it's difficult being in that position because it's like you have to have like stamina in your muscles, and usually you're focusing on strength, not holding yourself up like this. So it was really challenging.
What type of training did you have
prior to going into the military?
No, like
or during it. All sorts. So mainly physical. They definitely wanted to build you up to be comfortable running 3 miles, because that's what we have to do annually for our physical fitness test. We have to run 3 miles. So they build you up to that. So it's a lot of running throughout the week. Doing a lot of, we call them like rucks, but basically it's like wearing your camouflage uniform with your boots and like all your gear, and you're hiking for several miles. We go on the range to qualify on the shooting range with our M14 rifle. We also do Marine Corps martial arts, the Marine Corps martial arts program, which is MCMAP, is what the acronym is. At boot camp, you earn your tan belt there, so you do a little like hand-to-hand like self-defense type of martial arts training. And I think that, and then of course just like Marine Corps traditions, history, marching, drill, the kind of the traditional stuff that you see in like the military movies and stuff like that, so that you can really appreciate the branch of the military that you're in, and like honor that.
I have a friend actually that's in ROTC here, and he talks frequently about his PT and running and getting up really early. Is it
so early?
Is it kind of like that, or just like more like advanced?
It's definitely like that, especially in boot camp, because you're waking up at like 05 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
First thing, and you're out there. So for me in the winter, like you're out there first thing in the cold, and you don't get a chance to wake up with some coffee or anything. It's just like you go right out. So it definitely is like that, and then it continues on when you go to your job school. Basically, is what it is. You're still getting up first thing, going to school really early, and then they're gonna do some more PT either before or after, or both. So they definitely push you.
So I
physically.
Should tell him that he has a lot more to get into when he's at that new.
Yes, I'm afraid it's not ending anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your most vivid memory of your time training or in school?
Training. Every person that you talk to that's a veteran has a basic training story. I feel like they talk about how their drill instructors or drill sergeants like got in their face when when they messed up something, and it was funny because of course it's terrifying in the moment, but you look back now and you can laugh and you're like, man, I would totally go through boot camp again just to relive the experience and having these people chase us around and run us down for nothing, and it's comical looking back even though it was terrifying in the moment. Yeah, but yeah.
What was your best part?
The best. I love the brotherhood. They instill in boot camp that like this is kind of your family away from family, because everybody who goes into boot camp, you're either reserve or active duty, but they teach you like this is your brother, this is the person, they're gonna have your back when you're out there in the field and in combat. They have to have your back, and you have to have that confidence that they will have your back. Yeah. Look to your left, look to your right. These are your brothers and sisters. And it's been kind of hard finding that on the civilian side because it didn't matter if you got in a fight at work. At the end of the day, that was still your brother, and you could call them up and say, hey, I'm having a bad night. Can you come over and just talk? And and they're right there.
Do they have mandatory brotherhoods?
They kind of do. They we definitely have they call it Mando fun days for mandatory fun, but it actually ends up being a good time. All of our whole command's families and everybody kind of comes together, so it feels more like a family within your unit, and you get to know each other, know the families, and then that way, if something does happen and they, oh yeah, come over, have dinner with us, and just, it really builds that family and camaraderie with each other. It's awesome.
Cool. What was the worst part, if you have any?
The worst part was probably being away from family, being away from back home and what moving a lot, just going through changes. I don't think you realize how hard going through changes are until you're in the military, because your world is constantly changing. There's no stability, but when you do get that stability, it's gone just like that in a matter of 2 years or so. That was definitely the hardest part.
Does any particular instructor stand out in your mind?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot of them. I would say probably my Master Gunnery Sergeant Miller. He's still in the Marine Corps right now. He works at the Pentagon, actually. I was having a really hard time after deployment when I came back, and we're supposed to put on this front and be kind of stoic, not show your emotions. You're a Marine, you're supposed to be ready to go at all times. And I was just having a really hard time after deployment and just kind of readjusting. And so he would let me come in his office and just kind of break down, and he would talk to me because he knew he got it. He's been through several deployments himself, and was just this is normal. It's okay. And it's okay to get help, if you're having trouble after deployment. It's a big transition again. And it's nothing to be scared about. And he just really took me under his wing and made me feel like a human again, and being able to move on and look forward. So yeah, Master Gunnery Sergeant Ryan Miller. Yeah.
What was your first assignment after basic training?
After basic training, I went to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, and that's where I had my MOS school, or my job school for meteorology.
Did you receive any specialized training?
Specialized training would be the meteorology. Yeah, so that was a year-long school, which is on the longer side for most military jobs. So it was very intense. It was we basically ended up with an associate's degree in meteorology out of it through the community college of the Air Force. And so it was pretty intense, very intense work, like learning how to break down weather data, analyze, and actually forecast for military flights.
Is that what you're doing here at JU now?
Here at JU, I'm studying marine sciences
okay.
and secondary education, but the marine sciences kind of tie in with meteorology, so it's helped me a lot that I've had the meteorology background because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Do you recall your instructors? If so, what were they like besides the one you just told us about?
Some of them were laid back. Some of them were really gung ho because they know that we're just out of boot camp and basic training, and so they're still kind of trying to, I don't know about preparing us, but they kind of want us to kind of be on the balls of our feet, being ready for anything. And so some of them were very emotionless, very hardcore, and others were, laid back, would make jokes with you and everything like that. So it was kind of a flip of the coin.
It's interesting to know that some of them were laid back, because when I think about the military, or like watch movies about it, it's just a whole bunch of people screaming in your face and all that. So it's interesting to know that some of them are laid back.
They are, because in an environment that's so serious, sometimes you have to find a reason to laugh. So that's why they want to make sure that, like, some of them want to make sure, like, hey, we're still human and we can still laugh at things too.
Did you qualify with equipment like vehicles, aircraft, radios, weapons, etc.?
I did qualify annually with the M14 rifle, M6, M14. There we go. Yeah.
What was that training like? Was it hard? Easy?
So when I was in boot camp, when we qualified with iron sights. So no scope, nothing like that. It was just that one little iron sight in the middle, and they taught us how to do it. I have no idea how I pulled it off. I have no idea how anybody pulls it off because it's very impressive. Then the year after I got out of boot camp, they started putting the RCO scopes on it, so it magnifies by 3 times. So it definitely helps a lot. But the training can get hard because of the elements of the weather. Because we do have to be outside. There's can't afford a whole indoor range that's that big. Yeah. So it's all outside. We ourselves actually manually work the targets. So half of us will be down working the targets for the other half that are actually shooting on the range. So it's long days on the range. It's a whole week of qualification on the rifle range. So you're out there every day outside working.
Isn't that kind of like dangerous?